you were right there, just right across the state. Well, hey, man, it's great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out for the show. I appreciate it.
Heck yeah. Hey, it's good to be around. So
Yeah,
I appreciate you.
yeah. You got a lot going on in your world. And before we get in to kind of peel back the layers of all of it, I want to know 4 years ago, we were trying to figure out this pandemic. How long is it going to last?
hmm
How is it going to affect us? How did you make it through that time period? And how did it ultimately change you?
Oh man, that's a good question. I wasn't doing what I'm currently doing during the pandemic. So um we at the time I was a mortgage loan officer. I had kind of started doing some side hustles and started doing some digital entrepreneurship things, if you will. Um Financially on that side of things, it was really a matter of finding things that still worked, that still were viable and made sense. So, being a loan officer, I mean, mortgage rates were excellent at the time, so it made a lot of sense, and my life was pretty good. But it started opening up a lot of doors in the entrepreneurship space, which kind of got me where I'm at today. So are you asking from like a career side of things or a personal side of things or all
I,
of the above?
I think all the above. I think the Venn diagram
Okay.
goes into itself, especially being an entrepreneur and doing your own thing now.
hmm
It influenced the way that you kind of did your evolution in business.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, it's a big deal. So I'm grateful. I'm part of a pretty active church that everybody's very, very involved. And even throughout the pandemic, we found a lot of ways to stay in touch with each other and stay sane, if you will. Because I know it was, for a lot of people, it was an extremely lonely time, an extremely trying time mentally and emotionally and all of that. So they did a lot to kind of make that work and kind of bring people together. Even while we couldn't be physically together or in that realm. So I appreciated that a lot. And I think that fed into finding great opportunities in business and finding good space there as well. So hopefully that's answering your question
Yeah.
right. I
Yeah, no, you certainly did. And I think it was
sure.
really about how we made it through that time period. So you obviously said that you've had some changes prior to the pandemic and right now in 2024. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you in front
hmm
of a bunch of third graders. It's career day.
hmm
One of the kids says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
I'd always tell them I run an agency that builds super cool events and retreats all over the world. We do all the experience and make it amazing on the back end and the front end really across the board. So if I'm putting it simply, that's what I'll say.
And you would probably get their eyes widen and they'd want to know what you've done and can I get tickets? So yeah, you'd be the perfect guy. It's something like that.
Yeah, it
So
always gets to talk about travel and where we're going, where we've been. So, which
yeah.
is the point. That's the whole purpose behind it.
For sure. So, what did
hmm
you want to be when you were in the 3rd grade? What was your dream?
I wanted to be an architect
Okay.
for a very long time. I thought that I was going to be an architect. It never was anything in the travel world. I didn't really love traveling growing up. That really was probably the start of my 20s when I realized that that was my true passion. But building things that are beautiful and are uh, your environment can influence the way you think or your emotions. That really caught hold of me. So um I don't know. I really was caught hold by the idea of being an architect for the longest time. So that obviously changed, but it's a beautiful thing.
Well, but I used to work in an architectural engineering firm, so
Did
I
you really?
yeah, so I kind of got an insight into a lot of those guys that were doing architecture, and what you're doing is a lot like that. It's all about
Mhm.
imagination and envisioning something that is made out of nothing, that is
Yeah.
supposed to make people happy and look good.
Exactly. It's all about, I mean, it's all about creating experiences and
Yeah.
creating exactly out of nothing, being able to put something together. So you start from scratch and build something cool.
I've
So
known a few
it's kept it.
Yeah, I've known a few people that have kind of done what you're doing. There's this kind of
hmm
there's this world and it's hard to explain what you do. So I'm
Yeah,
curious, take me back to where you were born and raised and how the seeds got into you to want to be
sure.
kind of the architect of making people happy and coming up with event space and travel.
No, I was raised here in Idaho Falls, Idaho. Um, I think that the space that made the biggest difference in growing up was I worked at a scout camp for 5 years. And it's interesting, nobody's ever asked me this particularly, then I have to think it through. But when I worked at this scout camp, it was all about helping groups of young men have just the best week of their lives in the outdoors in some place that they're probably uncomfortable with and unfamiliar with, helping them feel comfortable and helping them truly enjoy it. So the last year when I was 18, um, I was the head commissioner of the scout camp. So that was basically, we were in the top three of the entire camp running the program for 600 boys, and trying to make it an amazing experience. And that was really when I think I found that I latched on to this idea of creating experiences, and that I loved curating and serving and building that up for people, and focusing on the details that could really make or break a week for people. That was really, it comes down to small details, like the way that they were welcomed into the camp, or the way that merit badges were handed out at the end of the week, or anything like that. The way, even heck, that communications were pushed to them on where things were in the camp and how to get around the camp. So it always like a really a learning experience for me on how to focus on the right details and how to use the right details to build something further. So I will always look back at that. Anything I do, I think I learned from scout camp. Honestly, like working there, I've probably slept outdoors in a tent for over a year of my life. So probably a year and a half at this point, and that's not slowing down anytime soon.
So
So
so in the whole like if you stretch out the possibility of entertainment, you got
mm,
concerts, you got sporting events, like the NFL draft was here in Kansas City a few years ago, which was pretty
mhm,
stellar. There's all these events that people go to. We as humans always find ways to come up with these entertaining venues. What was
yeah.
it for you? Where did you go where you thought, wow, they administered and orchestrated and designed that really well, and it's been an inspiration for you and your work?
It's a great question. I would say, have you ever met a guy named Josh Tapp, or heard of a guy named Josh Tapp with Pantheon FM?
I've heard of the name before.
Okay. He's a killer. And so right now he runs a really, really awesome mastermind, basically fully around referrals and building stuff there. But he previously worked a lot in podcast monetization and optimization. Um, I went to a couple events that he put on that were small scale events. They were maybe 20 people in total, that were really hyper curated for podcasting. They brought in 10 to 12 hosts and 10 to 12 guests, and everybody throughout 2 or 3 days would be able to cross interview each other and just have build some amazing relationships. And I think that was what, probably 2.5 years ago. Um, that really was what clicked it in my head, like, oh my gosh, this is such a curated event. It was all about relationships. It's all about using your podcast to build your business, not to like make $1 million on sponsorship or make any money on sponsorship, but by the person who's across from you in the Zoom room actually taking and getting to know who they are and understanding what they're doing, and working and partnering with them to raise the tide for both of you. It was so effective. I was talking to Josh not long ago about that, and he had tracked the numbers, and I think that he was telling me that from that alone, from a room of maybe 20 people, more than, I think it was, I don't want to say the wrong number, but it was more than $400,000 or $500,000 worth of business exchanged hands, whether it's referrals or direct business from there, from that one 2 or 3 day event. So really impressive numbers and impressive results from it. And everybody walked away. Like, I know everybody who came to that is always asking, when's the next one? When are we doing another one of those? So That really was the time I think when I realized that this was viable, that events don't need to be this dry, non like connecting experience, which I don't think anybody thinks they should be, but they don't put in the work to make them
Yeah.
that, I would
Yeah.
say. So that really set it off for me.
I think it's amazing how the business world has shifted to using podcasting as a
Yeah.
marketing vehicle, and it's genius because, you know, sure you can put a sticker or a billboard on a bus stop and you can do all that and it'll get
Hmm.
impressed in your brain. But when you see the personality and you actually feel like how many podcasts do you remember with interviews? There's so many vignettes of interviews that I remember, and it will
Oh
drive you
yeah.
right back to where it came from and it'll make you want to be involved. I mean, we all as human beings, and maybe COVID taught us that a little bit, as connected as we were technologically, we still wanted that palpable cellular interaction with humans around us. You know,
Oh
we wanted
yeah.
the community, like you said. You want a fun event with everybody around, not some stale thing where people bring in this perfunctory, non-labeled water and stale cookies in a plastic sheath. You want something more. We all want
Yes.
more.
Yeah.
And I think since COVID, it almost feels like we've gone through a rapture. We're the leave behinds, and we have a little bit more integrity and grit and vision as to what we want for the rest of our lives. We have a little bit
Hmm.
more on that compass needle, more magnetism than before. So let's do
I
it
love
up.
that.
Let's do it right, you know? So,
Oh, for real. No, it's true. It really is that it's I mean, I keep hearing the term pandered around that we're entering the experience economy. And I'll add to that, we're entering really a relationship economy where just general, I don't know about you, but for me personally, the ads on social media and everything, they were great 10, 15 years ago. And I actually clicked on a lot of them, but now they aren't even there for me. Like I just scroll right through them. But whenever somebody truly approaches me to build a relationship and
yeah.
bring a little bit of value to me, that's when I start to think, what does this guy do? Like, I love their brand. I love what they're doing. What what can they offer me? What can I buy from them?
Hmm.
That really, it's like it's all about experience. It's all about relationship, especially with high ticket digital services. That's really our bread and butter with the relationships. And I think it makes a lot of sense for
Yeah,
that realm and what's been building.
for sure. So, who's been a hero for you? Who's been an inspiration for you in your life?
Mm. That's a great question too. Joe, you're full of great questions. I
I,
love this.
I like it.
I love it. Can I give a cliche answer because it
Please
really
do.
has been sticking out to me the last couple of months. My father
Yeah.
is a great hero for me. Um, he's an interesting one because he just retired last year, and I think that's kind of what has put this in my mind. It has had me thinking about things, but he has worked so stinking hard for years, for 40, 50, I mean his whole life really. um and I recognize just how much he put into that. He is one of the most level-headed, emotionally mature people I've ever met in my life. And he approaches things, relationships specifically, with so much ease and so much like he is the best at making other people feel comfortable and at bringing things to the forefront. So I didn't realize it until about a year ago just how much I have structured my personality and who I am around him, around who he is and the way he interacts with people. And it's every time I see something new, I have to chuckle because it's like I never gave him credit and probably gave him a pretty hard time when I was younger. But he's just a beautiful man and a beautiful soul. So that's he always would take the cake as a hero for me.
It's weird when we're kids how we're just kind of in the fog of war figuring it out. Our brains just aren't developed enough to recognize the wisdom and the maturity. It's like we won't let the wine sit in the barrel too long. We want it immediately, but if you let it sit there
Hmm.
for a few years, it's probably going to be pretty good later on. But it's a hard thing to do,
Oh yeah.
you know? So of all of the people that exist on the planet right now, if you can meet one person, spend a little time with them, someone that you're interested or fascinated by, who would it be?
Mm, that's a really good question as well. I I'm not sure. Dang. You know, I think that the person that has kind of caught my I've been following what they're doing and where they're going with things, and honestly, I think it'd be very cool to sit down and chat um with Elon Musk. Honestly, I
Yeah,
feel like he's made missteps along the way, and I think he recognizes that. But the beautiful thing of who he is and how I would say he stands out from other large scale entrepreneurs that have built their entire life around multiple brands and things they're passionate about is he's truly himself in everything he does. And I think he owns up to his mistakes pretty often, and he is just a real person. And so the way that he approaches business and work and everything, he's just a very smart guy and a very interesting person. Interesting
yeah,
is probably a good word for it. So if
yeah,
I could sit and pick his brain and just run through some things and just learn his process, how he got to where he is today. Not that I want to be worth $200 billion at any point, but there's a certain amount you can learn from somebody like that they've grown and built what they're doing now, from where any of us are at this moment. So
yeah.
I would love to sit and take an afternoon with him or something.
Absolutely. So, what is your motivation every day to get up and to do the work that you do? Not only to do the job that you do as an entrepreneur and helping your client,
Mhm.
but to also evolve as a human being. What is that gas in your tank?
When I was a loan officer 4 or 5 years ago, during COVID specifically, our principal loan officer is he's a guy named Trevor, easily one of the greatest guys I've ever met. He introduced me to so many books and ideas and approaches to life that just make a lot of sense. We had these things called belief trainings, once a week. And we were in one belief training, and I think he noticed that I was kind of frustrated and I was kind of lacking a little bit of motivation to be there and to show up 100% every single day. And he asked the question, he's like, I want you to take a couple weeks and really think this through. But if you could do one thing every single day for the rest of your life, if that was the thing you woke up and you said, I'm going to do this, and that would immediately fill you with power and energy and dedication, what would it be? And I was thinking about it. This was right when I was in the height of like my travel phase. And the first answer was like, I want to travel. I want to be able to go and do this every time. But then it broke down from there because I don't want to travel every day. My travel list is ridiculous. It's so long, but I want to. What it came down to was the phrase, and let's see if I can remember exactly. I have it written down on my bathroom mirror at home, but it's I want to create exceptional experiences and things that are noteworthy and are changing the world. I want to create things that will influence other people in a positive way. And so it's all about that. It's all about coming back to being able to create those things and be able to create experiences and retreats and whatever else it may be that will truly move the needle for people and
Yeah.
will give them a different experience than they've ever had before. So that really is what gets me up every day. And when I read that in the bathroom mirror, I'm like, heck yeah, like I'm gonna go do that today and it's going to be exceptional.
So, of all of the things that you've done and evolved into at this point in your life, what are you the proudest of?
Mm. I think I'm the proudest of my business. I
Yeah.
so I just turned 27, and that I don't want that to be a cop out answer. I feel like that would be the obvious answer here. Um, but I just turned 27 about a week ago actually, and it's been on my mind. I started this when I was 25, I believe, 24, somewhere in that realm. And have been working different positions and jobs and things since I was 20. Like when I was 20, I was the general manager and corporate trainer for a restaurant. And that's really what set me off on this whole path of finding a business I can run and something I can truly create. I'm not just sitting behind a desk following somebody else's orders. Like it's I get to create the things that are coming into my brain. And I'm really quite proud of what's been built and where we're taking things here. Because to me it's all been the last 2 years or so that we've really been focused on and pushing this has been exceptional in building something that I feel like I can truly hold my own in and something I can provide excellent value in and something that I really love doing every single day. I'm very proud because I don't think a lot of people, most people obviously don't ever, if they have business ideas or whatever, they never get to start it, let alone see it come to fruition and start to see things. So every time I go to one of our events and retreats or whatever we may be doing and see people have light bulb moments or have a great experience, or afterwards when they text me and say, Nate, this was such a cool retreat, like this was amazing, I would come to this every single month if I could. That is what makes it all worth it to me, and that kind of fills me with a lot of pride for what we're building.
So Nate, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, colleagues, but you run the show. What's your
Hmm.
perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I think first and foremost, I like to think myself as a creative person like that, and that is very generic, but I really take a lot of pride and am excited about the approach that I take to life and things, and the creative approach to that. So I think that's the biggest thing. I'd like to consider myself a very kind person. I'm consistently trying to be more kind and be more aware of the people around me, um, and to draw on their perspectives, because I think it's if we hold it ourselves in our own perspective all the time, you're not going to get that far. It
Yeah,
stays within you. But if you can understand the perspective of anybody around you, the person sitting across from you or whoever it might be, that is when you truly start to learn and can understand how to help, how to truly be kind to people. So and care for them, because it's all superficial until you understand them, I
yeah.
think. So I just molded that a little, but I that really is a big passion of mine and something that means a lot to me, is understanding other people and caring about who they actually really are, not just what they bring to the table or
Yep.
what they might be. It's who they truly are deep down and what makes them tick, what makes them go in life, and how I can be a benefit to that.
That's great, man. So if anyone wants to
Mhm.
reach out, hire you, learn more about what you're doing, any of the good business, where do they go?
Sure. Yeah, come and check me out on LinkedIn. We our business has almost been exclusively referral based, so we don't even have a website at this point. We're over 2 years in, and we still haven't. It's in the works, but we just haven't needed it. So,
Yeah.
I always tell people, come and follow me on LinkedIn. Come see what we're working on, and shoot me a message on there. I try to make myself available to connect with new people and see what they're working on. So we're always doing events that I love inviting people to come and join in at.
Right on, man. Nate, this has been wonderful. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your story. You got a lot of road ahead, and you're doing wonderful things. So keep doing the great work, man.
Joe, you're the best. Thank you for having me. This has been excellent.
Absolutely, it has.